Hello everyone, welcome to Barca News. It is November 20th, 2023, and Barcelona have confirmed Gavi's injuries. Having said that, today we're going to be talking about the ramifications of Gavi's injury, including how it affects the deal to bring Vitor Roque in the winter transfer market. And we're also going to discuss what options does Barcelona have to replace Gavi. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Mo and this is Barca News' official live stream, which is on every Mondays and Wednesdays, 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we discuss Barcelona's news. Of course, this is not to be confused with the post-match live analysis, which usually happen right after Barcelona match ends and where we discuss the analysis of that match. Now, having said that, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment. All of this helps the channel continue to grow. YouTube just redid their algorithm, and likes and comments now affect a lot in the growth of the channel and how much YouTube shares that video with other people who've never seen the channel. Now, if you are looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, make sure you hit the gift bag. And if you are looking to place any sports bets, make sure you head to Bet Us. Both links are in the description. Now, before I forget, for those people who will be watching when the live stream ends, I will be putting timestamps in the description and chapters in the timeline in case you want to skip through, because as always during the live streams, I usually do a segment of news and then I head to the chat section to answer any questions and get a discussion going. Now, let's dive right in the news, because in yesterday's video, I reported that Gavi had suffered an injury in the match between Spain and Georgia, and he was seen leaving during the first half in tears. And Spanish national team's doctor feared that he might have torn his ACL. But of course, medical exams needed to be performed in order to confirm Gavi's injury. And while today, after undergoing medical exams, Barcelona's doctors have confirmed that indeed Gavi has torn his ACL in his right knee. Now, Gavi will have to undergo surgery in order to repair that ACL. I think the surgery is going to be in 2 or 3 days. And this means that Gavi will miss between 6 to 9 months, with some saying that he could be even out for an entire year. So in other words, Gavi's season is over. He will be out for the rest of the season, which is, of course, horrible news for Barcelona, because Gavi is one of the most important players of the squad. And as Xavi Hernandez put it before, he is the heart of the team, given how much passion and dedication he plays with and how much he usually pushes his teammate to also fight until the last minute. So big loss for Barcelona. And what's worse about all of this is that this was a preventable loss. Now, I talked about this in yesterday's video, but I think that this was an absolutely irresponsible decision by Spain's coach, Luis de la Fuente, to start Gavi against Georgia, because Spain had already qualified to the Euro Cup in 2024, and there was absolutely no need to play Gavi. And even if they hadn't qualified, they were playing against Georgia. You do not need Gavi to play against Georgia. Spain could have easily called up people like Sergio Roberto, like Marcos Alonso, like Hector Bellerin, and Spain would have still won that match because they were playing against Georgia. No disrespect to Georgia, but there was no need for Luis de la Fuente to start someone like Gavi, because again, they had already qualified and they were playing against a team like Georgia. And it's even worse because Gavi has played 27 consecutive matches and he was the only player on the Spanish national team that hadn't gotten a rest. So all common logic says that if you have a player who hasn't had any rest in a competition that you already qualified to against a team like Georgia, why in the world would you start Gavi? It makes absolutely no sense. I'm really pissed off about this because now it's us who will have to pay the price. It's Barcelona who are going to have to play an entire season without one of their most important players. And not just that, you're talking about the career of a 19-year-old player. ACL injuries are very serious injuries, and some players never recover from it. Now, of course, I wish and I hope that that's not the case here. I hope that Gavi is able to fully recover. After all, he is 19 years old. He can heal much better than an older player, but that's still a risk. And the fact that Luis de la Fuente was willing to gamble with that risk of ruining a 19-year-old player's career for a competition they already qualified for against a team like Georgia makes me really, really angry. It makes me really, really pissed that Luis de la Fuente was so irresponsible in having Gavi play. Now, make no mistake, this injury is a result of fatigue. They might try to sell you the story that, well, it's the way he stepped and, he kind of bends his leg and that's what tore the ACL. But it's absolute bullcrap because, yes, he did step wrong. But one thing about the body that you need to know is that when your muscles are exhausted, when your muscles are fatigued, they do not work to their full potential. And when you're playing at the same level, but your muscles cannot keep up with that intensity because they're fatigued, your joints, your ligaments have to overcompensate because your muscles cannot keep up. And when your ligaments are overcompensating because your muscles are too fatigued to do their full job, then that's when ligaments tear. So make no mistake, this injury is a result of exhaustion and fatigue. Don't let them sell you the story that this was simply a freak accident where he stepped wrong and tore his ACL, because players step wrong all the time. They bend their knees all the time. Their ACLs don't tear unless the ACL is already overworked because it's overcompensating for a muscle that's been overworked. And that's why this happened. Now, today in sport, and this is what pisses me off even more, today in sport, the media outlet, a report came out saying that the reason Gavi played against Georgia was because he wanted to. That Luis de la Fuente wanted to keep the player on the sidelines because he was fatigued, but it was the player who wanted to play. Now, you might wonder, why in the hell would sport report this? Now, this is not sport's fault. They're only reporting the information they received. But I have no doubts that the reason they received that report is because it's Luis de la Fuente and the Spanish national team trying to wash their hands from their responsibility by saying, oh, it wasn't our fault. It was Gavi who wanted to play. And it might be true, and I'm sure it is true that Gavi wanted to play. He always wants to play every match. But you're telling me that the coach of the Spanish national team cannot say no to a 19-year-old? Is Gavi the coach of the team? He's not. The coach is Luis de la Fuente, and if you know that your player is fatigued, you know that your player shouldn't play. If he tells you I want to play, you tell him no. You're the freaking coach. So this is absolutely disgusting and an absolutely embarrassing attempt by the Spanish national team and Luis de la Fuente to wash their hands of the scandal by leaking this report saying that Gavi played because he wanted to play. And yes, he might have wanted to play, but who the hell is the coach? You are Luis de la Fuente, not Gavi. So why the hell are you letting him play if you supposedly knew that he shouldn't have? Absolutely embarrassing. I'm absolutely pissed off. And this is why I hate these international breaks. This is the third FIFA international break in this season. Players are playing matches every 2 to 3 days. They're absolutely fatigued. Everybody's getting injured. And it's nobody else's fault but besides these coaches who are irresponsible with the players that they're managing, and by FIFA and UEFA who are irresponsible enough to make such a hectic calendar where they're completely ruining the careers of these players. Now, FIFA will pay Barcelona between 4 to 5 million euros because Gavi did get injured during a FIFA international break. We saw that with Ronald Araujo when he got injured with Uruguay in that friendly match against Iran. Barcelona also received some money. But 4 to 5 million euros is not going to give us back Gavi for the rest of the season. And 4 to 5 million euros is not going to replace the career of Gavi if, God forbid, he never recovers from this injury. Now let's head to the chat section, and then we will talk about the ramifications of this injury and how it will or could affect the operation to bring Vitor Roque during the winter transfer market. All right, let's see. Where is everybody? All right. Kathy says, watching from Kansas. Thank you, Kathy, for watching. I hope it's not too cold in Kansas. It's starting to get cold here in New York. Not fun, but it is what it is. Alvaro says, Barca need to bring back Pablo Torre from loan, and maybe Barca Oh, Garza? Who's Garza? Eddie Garcia? Because of injuries, I don't see why they ever sold Easy Update. Because Update sucks. That's why they sold them. They should have always sold them. There's no reason to keep them. Nima says, I heard we are allowed to sign a replacement for Gavi for 80% of his salary, which will not affect financial fair play rules. I'll talk about that in a little bit. And then Alvaro says, we better get compensation for this. We did. FIFA will give us around 4 to 5 million euros. But again, it doesn't replace the fact that Gavi will be out for the rest of the season. And it doesn't replace the risk that exists, which that Gavi could never recover from this, the way Ansu Fati did not recover from his injury. Hopefully that's not the case. But again, 4 to 5 million euros is not enough. And this should have never happened to begin with. Curtis says they rotated most of their team, including the keeper. That's to show how insignificant this game was. Yet he played Gavi. Are these guys doing this on purpose? This creates conspiracies. I don't believe in conspiracies, but again, it does piss me off that Gavi was the only player that hadn't been rotated. There's no reason to start him. You know, they want to tell us the story now that he chose to play. Yeah, of course he's going to want to play. 19-year-old players want to play every match, but it's up to you as his manager to say, no, you're not playing. I have the final word. Sit your ass down, and that's it. All right, let's get back to the news because there is talks about whether Gavi's situation could end up affecting Vitor Roque's arrival in the winter transfer market. Now, we all know that Barcelona are not going to sign anyone in the winter transfer market. Barcelona does not have space on their wage limit to sign anyone to sign anyone during the winter transfer market. So Barcelona's one and only priority for the winter transfer market is to bring Vitor Roque. Now, Vitor Roque has already recovered from his injury. He's gotten the green light to play. It's reported that Barcelona are going to try to bring him to Barcelona by December 6th so he can start training with the team, so he can, find a new home in the city of Barcelona. He can start adapting to the life in the city of Barcelona. And given the news that I shared with you before that La Liga have relaxed some of their financial fair play rule restrictions, and if Barcelona get that 40 million euros they're owed for Barca Studios, those two together, the 40 million euros plus the relaxation of the financial fair play rules, it would be enough to register Vitor Roque. Now, the question is, will Gavi's injury affect this? Because now Barcelona are down a midfielder, a very important midfielder. So is Barcelona going to have to sign someone to replace Gavi? And if they do, does that mean that Barcelona cannot bring Vitor Roque? Because again, Barcelona don't have enough space on their wage bill. Only if they receive the 40 million euros, they can bring Vitor Roque. And even if they do, they would only be able to bring Vitor Roque, no one else. So if Barcelona have to sign someone else, does that mean that we have to leave Vitor Roque out and wait for him until the summer? Now, after a lot of discussion within the board, so a lot of talking with Deco, Barcelona have decided that no, it's not going to affect Vitor Roque's arrival. Vitor Roque is still the number one priority for Barcelona to come in the winter transfer market. And there are a couple of reasons, or maybe 3 reasons, why Gavi's injury would not affect Vitor Roque. The first one is that because Gavi was injured during a FIFA international break and it's such a lengthy injury, Barcelona would be allowed to sign someone for 80% of Gavi's salary without affecting the financial fair play rules. So Barcelona could still bring Vitor Roque, and as long as they sign someone who earns 80% of Gavi's salary as a replacement for him, Barcelona would still be fine. They would be able to bring both, a replacement for Gavi plus Vitor Roque. So that's the first reason why Gavi's injury would not affect Vitor Roque's arrival. The second reason why it wouldn't affect it is because Barcelona could consider taking Vitor Roque on loan for 6 months, and then he would come permanently in the summer. So that wouldn't affect the financial fair play rules as much, which again would allow Barcelona to sign someone else alongside Vitor Roque. And the final reason why it wouldn't have Gavi's injury would not affect Vitor Roque is that Barcelona do have plenty of options to replace Gavi in La Masia. So Gavi's injury is not going to affect the arrival of Vitor Roque. Vitor Roque is still the number one priority for the winter transfer market. Barcelona are still in the market to look to try to find a replacement for the German investment fund, or to have the German fund pay them the 40 million euros that they owed. Because once they receive that money, Vitor Roque would be able to be registered. In Barcelona, if they want to sign someone in place of Gavi, they have that 80% of Gavi's salary to sign someone. They can also bring Vitor Roque on loan and still sign someone. And of course, they do have plenty of options to replace Gavi from the La Masia, and that means that they wouldn't have to sign anyone. Now, the person who will have to decide all of this will be Deco. Deco has a very big task ahead of him to decide who's going to replace Gavi, whether it's someone that they sign in the market or whether it's someone from Masia. So there's going to be a lot of reflection, a lot of planning, a lot of strategizing, and a decision will be taken about who will replace Gavi. And in regards to that, I do have a list of options that Barcelona are considering. But first, let's head back to the chat section, and then we'll talk about the several options that Barcelona have to replace Gavi, who, by the way, is irreplaceable because, again, like Xavi said, he is the heart of the team, and that you cannot replace. You cannot replace Gavi's dedication. You cannot replace Gavi's passion. He's simply irreplaceable, but we do need another midfielder. Okay, let's see. Riley says, huge blow for the team. It's going to be hard. Nobody like him in the team. In fact, in the world, he's irreplaceable. 100% agree. Abbas says, Spain already qualified. There's no reason to play Pablo. Gavi Luis de la Fuente is a Madridista. Trust me, Mo, watching from Sierra Leone. Agreed. There was absolutely no reason to play him. Tim says, I am just wondering, when will UEFA realize they are doing too much harm to players to play that much? Every year I have a feeling that there's more and more international games. There is. I mean, they're even trying to make trying to add matches to the Champions League. They started this new competition, the Conference League or whatever the hell it's called. And they just keep doing this. And honestly, I'm starting to believe in the Super League because it's obviously UEFA doesn't care about the health of the players. They don't care. There's always other players. Yeah, you get injured, who cares? Your career is ruined, who cares? Someone else will take your place. But as long as they're making their money, they're happy. So this is why I really starting to believe in the Super League, because UEFA's monopoly needs to end. Because since there is no competition to UEFA and they know it, they can do whatever the hell they want, and they can just play these players to the death, and they don't care, because at the end of the day, they're still making money. It's not their health. It's not their bodies. That's absolutely disgusting. Nina says, are we not discussing FIFA UEFA's role in the whole mess of overplaying players? This has to become a trend on social media. I did. I mentioned that at the beginning of the video. Chad says, can't watch football anymore. I'm broken. Well, I hope you can overcome this, because I can't imagine my life without football. International breaks are horrible. So hopefully you can overcome your sadness. I would hate to see you stop watching football. Alvaro says, maybe Barca should do a swap someone as Marguerite, as it could lower down his price for Roque. I don't see Marguerite wanting to leave Barcelona to go to Brazil. All right. Let's get back to the news, because I do have a list of players that Barcelona are considering as possible replacements for Gavi. Of course, on the first team, we already have, Frankie, Pedri, and Gundogan, who can start in that line of three. We still have Oriol Romeo and Fermin Lopez, who's doing great, who can also rotate in. But of course, Xavi does like to have 2 players per position, so that's only 5 players for 3 positions. So we would need a 6th one, especially with how intense the calendar is with all these La Liga and Champions League matches. And not to mention, once Copa del Rey starts, that's even more matches added to the calendar. So Xavi would like to have a 6th midfielder, and I have a list for you of what players could replace Gavi. And of course, this will be a big task for Deco, who will have to decide alongside Xavi Hernandez. Now, the first player who could replace Gavi on the first team is, of course, Marc Casado. That he is 20-year-old player, captain of Barca Athletic. He mostly plays as a defensive midfielder, so he's more of a pivot, but he can play as an interior. He can also play as an attacking midfielder, and he's even played as a winger before. Of course, not his natural position, but he has played in that position. So very versatile player. Again, main position is defensive midfielder, but Marc Casado is very versatile player who could play in different positions. He's already played with the first team. He's been training with the first team. Of course, he is 20 years old and the captain of Barca Athletic, so he does have that maturity level to be able to step in for Gavi and play with the first team. So he would be kind of like the most senior option to replace Gavi from Barca Athletic. Again, Marc Casado. The second option is Aleix Garrido. He is 19 years old. Xavi is said to be absolutely amazed with Aleix Garrido. When Aleix Garrido used to play in the Juvenil A or the Under-19 alongside with Lamine Yamal, they used to say that Aleix Garrido and Lamine Yamal were the two magicians of the Juvenil A. Now, this is a player that has been compared to Iniesta. He's an attacking midfielder who can combine really well with his teammates. He can distribute the ball really well. And just like Iniesta, he can make those runs to the box and still score. So very talented, very impressive midfielder who, again, said that Xavi is absolutely fascinated with him. The only problem is that they say he's still not quite there as far as being ready to play with the first team. Now, Aleix Garrido has been training with the first team since the summer. So, if he stepped in, it wouldn't be this big, huge change. But another option that Barcelona are considering. Now, a third option is Unai Hernandez. He's 18 years old. He was formed in Girona's academy. Of course, Girona do play a very similar style to Barcelona, so that's not a problem. He's no foreign to the playing possession football. He is an attacking midfielder, unlike Marc Casado, who's more of a defensive midfielder. So he is an attacking midfielder. He can also play on the left wing, and he is someone who can really score goals. He's a midfielder who has a really good knack for scoring goals. In fact, he scored 15 goals last season, which is very, very impressive for a midfielder. Now, Unai Hernandez has been training with the first team since the summer as well. So, again, he is familiar with the first team, so he could step in. And this is what I like about Xavi Hernandez. We might criticize everything else, but I think Xavi Hernandez has been so good about incorporating the Barca Athletic and players from Juvenil A with the first team since the summer, which, this is perfect for a situation like this where if we do need one of these players to step in, they're not going to feel lost because they've been playing with the first team or been training with the first team for months now. So it's not going to be completely foreign experience to them. Yes, it's going to be a step up because you are playing at a higher level in the first division, but at least your teammates, you're used to them, you've trained with them, so it's not that big of a change. Let's get back to the chat section. I want to do a few more comments, and then we'll talk about 3 more options that Barcelona are considering, and then I will ask you what option do you think is best. But let's first do a few comments, and then we will talk about the 3 more options. Tim says, we don't need more midfielders. Barca needs to get more forwards because you can have all the midfielders in the world, but if there's no player we can score as it now, it's not going to work. I mean, we need both. You need 2 players per position. Right now, we only have 5 midfielders, with one of them being a Barca Athletic player, which is Fermin Lopez. So we need a 6th one. So yes, we do need someone to replace Gavi. And Tim also says, plus that if you have good wingers, they are creating more space for strikers and midfielders to score, not to mention they can score too. All right. No one else is leaving comments. Or maybe I skipped someone. No. Oh, my man Klaus. He is in the chat section. He says, hi, Mo. What's up, Klaus? It's always good to have you in the live stream. And let's see what else. We have Fitzroy who says, watching from Jamaica. What's up, Fitzroy? Fitzroy's been watching this channel for a very, very long time. So thank you for your support, Fitzroy. And let's see what else. Riley says, this is very wrong by the Spanish team. Now they are putting the blame to Gavi as if they did not have a hand in his injury. And why would they make that statement to the public? Because, again, like you said, they are trying to wash their hands, which is a very, very shameful attempt. Okay, let's get back to the options that Barcelona have as far to replace Gavi. The 4th option would be Marc Bernal. We've talked about Marc Bernal before. He is 16 years old. defensive midfielder. So just like Barca, he's someone who plays in the pivot position. He can also play as an attacking midfielder. So he can do both, but he mostly plays more as a pivot. He is right now playing in the Under-17 World Cup. So he is in Indonesia right now with the Spanish national team. So if Barcelona do decide to call upon him, it's not going to be until December. But he is an option. The only thing is that despite all the positive reports of Marc Bernal and saying how talented he is, Barcelona still consider that he is not quite ready to play on a first team. So very talented player with lots of skills, ticks all the boxes as far as a good midfielder for Barcelona, but they say that he's yet to mature. He needs to mature a little bit more before he can step in. But nonetheless, he is an option. But just remember, he is playing with Spain in the Under-17 World Cup. The fourth option is, this is the fifth option, would be Pau Prim. Pau Prim is 17 years old. He's also a defensive midfielder like Marc Bernal or Marc Casado. He is also playing the World Cup. And just like Marc Bernal, he's a player with a lot of promise, but the team considered that he's not yet quite ready for the first team. Now, sixth option is, of course, Noah Darvic, which Barcelona did sign over the past summer. He's kind of considered something of a wonder kid, someone who has a lot of promise behind him. He can play as an attacking midfielder. He can play even as a right winger, someone who's really great with that final pass and who can also score goals. And there's a lot of expectations on this player, a lot of hype behind him, a lot of positive reports. But the only problem is that he has yet to shine with Barca Athletic. He's currently shining in the Under-17 World Cup with Germany. He's kind of leading the German team. He's been playing phenomenally every match, but he has yet to shine with Barca Athletic. I imagine he's still adapting. He just arrived in the summer, so he's probably still adapting to Barca Athletic. But who knows? Maybe the experience in the World Cup and the fact that he's shining with the German team could mean that maybe he could bring that experience back and start shining with Barca Athletic. But nonetheless, it's still a very viable option given how skilled and how talented this player is. But let's get back to the chat section, and then we will do one more option that Barcelona have, and we will talk about 2 injury updates. But let's see. Kweku says, first time watching the live. I always watch the late. I'm enjoying it. Thank you, Kweku. Welcome to the live stream. I'm glad you're watching it. Hopefully you enjoy it, and hopefully you join more live streams in the future. Luca says, hi to you all. Well, I'm just coming online. Well, welcome, Luca. If you missed, there's a lot of stuff we discussed at the beginning, so whatever you missed, just make sure you watch the live stream when it ends. Lots of good information, or at least I think so. I don't know if you guys agree. And Yomi says, hey, Mo, much love from Nashville. All right. What's up, Yomi? Nashville, city on my list. I can't wait to visit. I have a friend that lives there. He's always like, man, when are you coming to visit me? So I would love to visit Nashville. I hear a lot of great things. Let's see. David says, what about Alberto Moleiro from Las Palmas? That option was ruled out, just given how much money Las Palmas wanted for him. So he's no longer an option. Let's see. And Yomi says, Gavi replacement or Roque, which one is more needed? So as I discussed before, Barcelona could actually do both. If you missed that part, just make sure you watch the live stream when it ends. Barcelona could do both. But if they had to choose, I think I would say Vitor Roque, because Lewandowski does not have a replacement. So we do need that versus Gavi. Again, we do have Pedri, Frankie, Gundogan, Fermin Lopez, and Oriol Romeo, 5 players on the first team. And we still have, I just mentioned 6 options from Barca Athletic. So plenty of options to replace Gavi, but Lewandowski has no options. All right, let's see. One more, and then we'll get back to the news. But Tim says, don't know why Xavi is forcing formation 2-3-5 when attacking. He's just putting everyone in the box, so no one have space, because even a bee can fly through there. Good old 4-3-3 and 10 million back so they can run. Yes, it does get a little bit crowded, but that's always been a Barcelona style of play where when they advance their lines, they always just leave 2 center backs in the back. All right, let's get back to two brief updates, and then we will wrap it up. But the seventh option that Barcelona could consider is, of course, that of Pablo Torre. I did report about, I think it was 2 days ago, that Barcelona were considering recalling Pablo Torre from loan, but it wasn't to replace Gavi. Obviously, Gavi was not injured yet when this news broke. The reason was because Pablo Torre is not getting any playing time at Girona. Pablo Torre has started in 0 matches all season with Girona, and he has only accumulated 120 minutes. So not good. And Barcelona are considering recalling him in the winter transfer market so they can send him out on loan again. Because Pablo Torre is 19 years old. That's a very critical age in any footballer's career. At that age, you need to be playing consecutively so you can continue growing and developing. And if you're not playing consecutively, then you risk that your growth will get stunted and plateaued, and then you're not going to keep growing. So Pablo Torre, in a very critical stage of his career, he needs to keep playing. He's not playing with Girona. So Barcelona will consider recalling him so they can send him out on loan again. Now that Gavi has gotten injured, there's some talks about maybe Barcelona recalling him, but instead of sending him out on loan again, then maybe keeping him to replace Gavi. But of course, I mean, there's two problems with this. Number one is that Girona has to agree to terminate the loan. So this cannot be done unilaterally. But the bigger problem is that Pablo Torre was with Barcelona an entire season and he failed to convince Xavi due to his lack of discipline. So I don't know if he'll be able to convince Xavi again this time around. So if Barcelona do recall him, I fear that it's mostly going to be to send him out on loan again. I don't see Barcelona keeping him because, again, if he failed to convince Xavi in a whole season, he has failed to convince Girona in half a season. I don't see him being able to convince Xavi once again to play. So, but it is an option. That is the seventh option. And just to recap, we have Marc Casado, Aleix Garrido, Unai Hernandez, Marc Bernal, Pau Prim, Noah Darvic, and Pablo Torres. 7 options to replace Gavi. And the last bit of update is that we do have 2 injured players who are ready to resume their duties with the team. Of course, the first one is Frankie de Jong. Frankie de Jong has received the green light. He is fully healthy, and he will be back on the squad list against Rayo Vallecano, which is on November 25th. That's when the FIFA international break ends. So in 5 days, we'll have that match against Rayo Vallecano, and Frankie de Jong has been given the green light to play. Whether he plays or not, we'll have to see. Of course, when players come back from injury, they don't always start. But Frankie de Jong is ready to play. Of course, there were reports saying that he was ready to play against Alaves, which was the last match that we... Was it Alaves that we played? Yeah, Alaves. But of course, Barcelona decided to be extra cautious, keep him on the injury list. That way he doesn't get called by the Netherlands and then ends up getting injured during the FIFA break. So they decided to keep him on the injury list. That way he missed the FIFA break. But now he's back. And the second injury boost that Barcelona have gotten is, of course, Marc ter Stegen, who did leave the German training camp due to back pain. But of course, as I reported when the news first came out, I told you that it wasn't really serious. Javi Miguel had said it wasn't really serious. He was suffering pain, but they didn't expect it to be anything serious. And lo and behold, it wasn't a serious injury because Marc ter Stegen has been cleared and will be back on the squad list. So that only leaves Sergio Roberto, who's expected to come back probably the match after that. And of course, Gavi, who we have lost for the rest of the season. So that is all the news. Let's do a few more comments, and then we will end the live stream. Let's see. Where did we leave? Let's see. Alvaro says, I think Marc Casado is the perfect match. If you look at our CMs, they're mostly known for their attack play style. So having a player to help defend would be perfect. Our defense is amazing. But we've been what? Conceding. Okay. I mean, Marc Casado is a great option. He's 20 years old, so he's a lot more mature than the other options. He's the captain of Barca Athletic, so he kind of has that, again, the maturity to be able to step up. He's played already with the first team. He's been training with the first team. But he is defensive midfielder, and Gavi is not. So I don't know if we need another defensive midfielder. You know, Frankie can play as a defensive midfielder, Oriol. But, of course, he's still a very, very valid option. I would prefer Aleix Garrido because Aleix Garrido and Unai Hernandez are both more attacking midfielders like Gavi is. But of course, they're not as mature and necessarily as ready as Marc Casado is. Mark says, speaking of Marks, Mark says Barcelona are partly to blame for Gavi injury. They also don't rest him. Gavi's been rested. Let's see. I think he's on. He hasn't started in 3 matches out of 13, or how many matches has been? 11. Let's see. Lamine says, "Hi Mo, I am Lamine. Oh my God, it's Lamine Yamal, guys. Watching from Sevilla. We have to sign a world-class midfielder because we are on Champions League and La Liga." So the reports are that Xavi wants Subimendi. He still wants Subimendi. That's his priority for the summer. That would be kind of his big midfield signing. And Nima says, would you agree that Subimendi would better than Kimmich for us, more suitable to the single pivot formation, cheaper and long-term investment due to his age? Yes. Had you asked me this a few months ago, I would have said no. I know last season I used to say I'm not too convinced on the Subimendi option, but I've been watching him this season with Real Sociedad, and he's been absolutely phenomenal. So I take back anything that I said bad about Subimendi. Of course, he doesn't watch the channel, but if he did, I would apologize to him because Subimendi has been absolutely phenomenal this season. And so, yes, I agree. Subimendi would be a better option than Kimmich, given his age. Of course, Kimmich, I would say Kimmich is more, in the grand scheme of things, Kimmich is obviously a better player. But when we're talking about Barca, I think Subimendi would be the better fit. And of course, again, his age. Ross says, you forgot to mention 2 of the ball boys also got injured and we are looking for replacements. And the water guys, I heard they're injured too. Mysterious World says, hey Mo, watching from Wisconsin. I never missed your video and enjoying every piece of it. Keep up the great work. Much love. Thank you. Thank you so much for your comment and stay warm. I've never been to Wisconsin, but I hear it's very, very, very cold. And finally, last comment and then we'll wrap it up. But Nima says, start, bench, sell. Julian Alvarez, Luis Diaz, Leroy Sané. Oh, holy moly. That is tough. I would start Julian Alvarez. I would bench Leroy Sané and sell Luis Diaz. Again, 3 excellent players. I think no one in the right mind would want to sell Luis Diaz, but to me, between Luis Diaz and Leroy, I would say Leroy. But by a tiny bit. But great question, Nima. Great question. Anyways, that is it for today, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your likes, your comments, your subscriptions, and your support. You guys are absolutely amazing. Best YouTube community by far. I will see you in tomorrow's video. Hopefully good news. I know today, this whole day has been just, overshadowed by the bad news of Gavi's injury, but hopefully tomorrow, good news. So I wish you a good night or good morning, wherever you are in the world. And as always, Visca Barça.